Southwest Virginia and Northeast Tennessee is rich in music heritage, whether it be bluegrass, country, folk, blues, Americana, or rock and roll. This area has a diverse group of talented musicians. Let's get to know some of the area's top musicians and new rising stars. I'm here with Indighost from Bristol, Tennessee, and they have been together since December 2014. And if you guys would go start here, introduce yourselves, and tell everybody what you play.
Alright, I'm Taylor, and play drums.
I'm Cody, and I play guitar and synth.
I'm Randy, I sing.
I'm Dan, and I play guitar and do backup vocals.
And I'm Quentin, and I play bass. And that's all I do.
That's all you do, okay.
Ridiculous.
How did you guys come up with the name Indighost?
We're sitting outside, back in a field, just chilling, and it just kind of reminisced.
Yeah. Can I just say that it was followed by a wind, and I remember looking at these two and being like, oh my god. And then we were like, no, that'll never work. And it took like nine months for us to decide on it after that.
It was pretty spooky.
We definitely sat on it for a while and threw about a bunch of other names, and
they were all terrible.
Yeah.
They were all great.
I don't know, Wolf Rat was pretty good.
I liked Wolf Rat.
Womb Rat?
Oh,
yeah,
Womb Rat was
Womb
there
Rat
too.
Was great.
That was another possibility.
Randy, she explicitly banned us from
using the word
rat. It wasn't allowed.
No rats allowed.
I tried.
No
I tried sneaking
rats.
it in there, but it never worked.
Okay, your genre is psychedelic rock. And what's the difference between psychedelic rock and just normal rock and roll?
Oh, that is a tough question.
It's heady, and there's elements of like where the music sonically is kind of trying to open into a different realm. There's lots of delays and reverb and different synth sounds that a lot of them are derived from cosmic noises and like space and stuff.
Space and ambience.
Basically, yeah.
I would say like rock
it's
is like really straightforward.
Distortion.
Yeah.
Just rock and fucking
more
roll.
atmospheric, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then when you get in the psychedelic realm, it's taking that just distortion and rock, and then just putting on some ambience and space.
And then there's elements of
elements
of history to it. Like you get a little bit of the garage, like from the '60s, like with lots of fuzz and a little bit of like surf vibes and that sort of stuff. Like when you listen to something, you're like, whoa, that's trippy. Like that's psychedelic, whether or not you're like defining it in a genre or not.
Yeah, and if you played it for like 15 minutes, then it'd be jam.
yeah.
Before you guys formed the band, did you guys know each other before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, being Cody played in a previous band, and when that broke up and went separate ways, we had talked for a while about what we were gonna do, and so we hit up music that we were interested in, and a lot of stuff that we were really into wasn't being played around here a lot, and so we kind of decided to just go in that direction. We're like, hey, there's kind of a pocket where nobody's playing this stuff and we really like it. It's our thing. And when it started, it was mostly just about being as genuine as possible. But the other thing is, I met Randy when she was on stage in a theater production, and I remember walking up to her and being like, oh, I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity, because she was just carrying the stage and just absolutely killing it. And then 2 years later, we ended up working together, and she handed me a CD and was like, hey, I'm trying to, I really want to start a band. I know you're into music and stuff like that. Like, check out this music. And it just really resonated with me as stuff that I was super into. And I guess at that moment, I was just kind of like, oh, this could easily work. And she was the first person I thought of when I was thinking, hey, we should get a vocalist, dedicated vocalist, and really just like push that sort of a vibe where everybody's really efficient on their instrument, because previously you and me had played guitar and sang.
I didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, and it was just like at some point you feel like a wind-up toy, just sort of like you can't really like bring in the presence you want to sometimes, and it just felt right. Like our first practice we did. I mean, do you have any input on that?
As soon as I heard Randy, you were asking her.
Yeah, because you were on the fence about it. You were like, "Oh yeah,
Well,
I've never met her before."
Well, as soon as I heard Randy sing and like come in to it was the most awkward thing ever. But basically, Randy just came in and just took it as her own and
shut it down.
And shut it down.
And auditioning for this.
Yeah, and from that moment, I've always been a huge Randy advocate.
Well, okay, so I just want to add two
words.
things. Is that I didn't almost make it to the audition because I got like really self-conscious about the whole thing. I was like, what am I doing? This is never going to work. And then I left, and I was driving home and was like, oh my God, if I hadn't have gone, this would have been the biggest mistake I ever made, first off. And then second, we found out, like, I guess it was like a year later, and we had never met before, Q and I, that we're third cousins, that we're even related. Wow. So, like...
Small world.
Yeah. And I had actually auditioned for Dan and Cody's old band, too.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was actually fairly new to the area.
I might be blocking Randy.
You're cool. I'm
So-
like snaking in and out. It's fine.
Dan and Cody, that's your idea to start the band up?
Originally, yeah, we were sitting in his basement or like his apartment and just listening to all this music and being like, oh, this is what's up, this is the thing, this is what we're into, you know, and really with this band, it started out being more than anything just being like, let's just be ourselves and let's just do what we want to do. More than anything else.
Because, I mean, I'll talk a minute just about, like, I mean, the previous band was more of, like, folk rock and stuff like that, and I've never really been into playing electrical guitar, ever. And when that group split, it was more or less just, like, reinventing ourselves, and especially for me, just trying something that I never have, and then it just kind of opened up.
I think it's like what you said, just being honest about who we are and what we like. I think that's why in the first record, I don't want to say there's a lot of disconnect, but you know, there's a lot of
learning
genres.
Each other.
Yeah, I mean, I almost wouldn't classify our first record as psychedelic because there's so many different flavors and genres there, and it's just because it's what we like. It's what we were being honest with, just playing what we like to play.
Yeah,
definitely.
So who's the big creator who writes most songs?
All of us.
All of you?
us.
Yeah, all of us.
We all have a hand in it.
Usually
effort.
it's
It
kind of
really is.
It's kind of a situation where we'll sit there and we'll jam out on riffs, and then you'll get to a moment where you're like, okay, that's really, really flavorful. That's really interesting, and then you just kind of roll off of it and create new ideas. And a lot of it lately has been, especially lately, has just been, you know, what haven't we done before? What can we challenge ourselves with? So a lot of it is just like challenging.
Yeah, everybody brings something to the table.
Exactly.
There's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, it comes out sometimes.
Yeah.
Couldn't really find a better group of people than what we have right here.
Well, yeah, and especially on the new material we're writing, Quentin has been really just killing it and coming up with a lot of riffs, and I feel like our new stuff is like, there's a lot of like that drum and bass element where it's just kind of like, you know, like kind of spreading stuff out musically and like taking themes and like really like focusing on them more and taking more time.
Silence.
guys have a lot of visuals at your shows. And why did you decide to have visuals?
Part of it is because there's two reasons. Back in the day, a lot of bands in the garage and psych scene and surf scene would add elements of liquid light shows, which is just a projector with different types of liquid on the actual like glass, and making different effects with it and saying, okay, this was really interesting, this is working for music, it's really like following the flow, and just taking those elements and then mixing it with a lot of different stuff we like. For me, I'm really into like B horror and a lot of these like obscure films that maybe didn't get popular, but they have a lot of really interesting elements and maybe a lot of really good cinematography. So some of it is just mashing up different stuff and then listening to the music with that mashup and just being like, oh, this is creating a totally different thing when you mix them together, and it's just kind of a cross section of like feelings.
Yeah, and a lot of us have our hands in like different types of art. Like Cody does photography, him and I both draw and create physical art, and so it just kind of makes sense that I think we're all pretty much willing to delve into any type of art just to see what happens.
Yeah.
That's kind of what our music's about too, is like we just kind of do. It almost ties in with the other question beforehand. Like the reason we got into this and the reason we're still like we do the music that we do the way we do it is because that's what we want to do individually as people, and somehow as a group, all of our
There's a lot of
stuff
chemistry.
lines up. Yeah, it really does.
More than any group I've been with, the chemistry with this group is amazing.
We all fit our strengths and our weaknesses very,
Yeah.
I think
very
everyone knows
well.
what they are, yeah.
Yeah.
And it just fits together so well, effortlessly, without having to sit there and try for it.
We're
It
like
just
a
kinda
fungus.
works together.
Fungus.
Yeah, we're like
Like a fungus, yeah, we are a fungus.
Multicellular.
Yeah.
Multicellular fungus.
And Randy, if you've been the only female in the group, are you treated any differently?
I mean, yeah, yes and no. I mean, I don't know how to really answer that question. No, I think
She gets the front seat in the car.
I do. Yeah. I think okay.
And she's band mom.
I definitely
She
am
is.
band mom, but like, you know, whatever. I don't give a shit. Can I say that on your interview? I'm
Sure.
sorry. I'm not sorry. I curse all the time.
We all do.
I don't know. I think
We don't fucking care.
they usually treat me like one of the boys, I guess, and that's fine because it just works that way. But then there are times, I guess, I am the girl. It's okay. I don't see it as much with them as I do going into like venues or playing with other bands. Like I know a lot of times that people think that I'm the merch girl or I'm just a girlfriend with the band, and you know, that happens more than I'd like it to.
But
she-
actually the
Get you a
leader.
swig of wine.
Yeah.
Right, and actually, yeah. And it does. Like, I mean, I've watched, you know, people in charge kind of get rattled when I'm the one who steps up to the mic, and I'm just like, hey, you know, yeah, I'm in a sense the front person, the leader, and so yeah, it comes back to bite him.
And the other
kills
thing is it just kind of adds to the balance of the group. There's just like the more diversity in voices as far as people, like we really respect each other a lot as a group, and so everybody has their role, but like it's very important for us to just communicate and really open up, and I think that Randy really worked hard to push that aspect, and it's just made us better. Like not only with our chemistry, but with our playing too.
It's like we said earlier. We
I'm
fit
also
our
the
strengths and
oldest, and
weaknesses.
so I don't deal with a lot of bullshit.
And you're like you're basically like a therapist. I feel like sometimes. Like a band therapist.
Oh God, yeah, I did not finish my psychology degree for a reason because I had like 5 other mentalities that I had to deal with, including my own. So.
And Randy, you have a great stage presence.
Thank you.
You keep the audience entertained. Is it hard to keep the audience focused as a band as a whole instead of just being focused on you?
I hope not.
I wouldn't say so.
I feel like that's something definitely have gotten better at.
Yeah, I mean, at some point in time, it works both
shit.
ways. Like, they have to step up to the plate and be like, hey, look at me. I kind of, where I come from a theater background, it's very easy to just be like, hey, look at me. But because of that, too, I also learned, it's called don't steal focus. That's what they say in theaters, don't steal focus. And so, like, a lot of times I'll walk to the back and I'll go stand by the amps and stuff because, like, nobody should be looking at me at this point in time. I'm not singing. I'm not doing anything. Like, watch these guys play their instruments. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So I think in my mind, I'm always also trying to do that also.
Another thing we all agreed on at the very beginning is that we all wanted, like, especially for her to be the center of attention.
Yeah, there is a degree of look at me.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like,
We want that.
No, and a lot of bands there's a lot of infighting because the singer gets the most attention.
No, not
A lot
here.
of jealousy.
I
and-
think that's natural.
We all
Yeah.
want that.
I think
that's natural with fans and the media.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's natural for her to get the most attention. I think that's part of the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
And
it
when we were
is.
first starting out,
That's what we wanted. That's
like
what
watching-
I was. Yeah.
watching bands on stage, I had this epiphany where you're looking at this group and you're like, okay, there's 30 people behind the scenes, regardless of who's on stage, and like it's all like coming to this point where, a lot of people are almost projecting themselves into that position of being on stage. It's kind of an interesting situation to watch.
what's funny though is that a lot of times after shows, like, nobody will talk to me.
Well, it's because you're.
They
They're scared of you.
They are
Yeah.
scared or intimidated after the fact.
Yeah.
Beforehand, it's like no big deal, and then like afterwards, they're just like,
Well, because you
who are you?
you
Like
do-
even my son at one time was like,
you do throw off a distinctly aggressive vibe on stage, and I think that, like, being a female, I think a lot of people are intimidated by that.
it's because I'm hanging around all this testosterone all the time.
Right. Yeah.
You guys been doing some shows in West Virginia. Any plans on expanding out to other states besides Virginia, Tennessee, West Virginia?
We have,
We have actually.
yeah. Where have we?
Let's
North
recollect
Carol-
here for a minute.
North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, of course, Georgia, and so far we've just been widening our circle slowly. We have a lot of shows coming up. We have shows in Louisville, Columbus, Nashville, Richmond, Virginia. Just kind of like moving our way up. I think our next like hill to climb is gonna be like Pennsylvania, probably.
Right.
Yeah. So
You
just
guys are
moving out.
writing new material.
Mm-hmm.
When can we expect a new album to come out? Don't know.
When it's ready.
When it's ready.
Yeah.
Goddamn ready.
I don't want to jump the gun on that. Like,
we have 5 or 6 tunes that we're getting there, and I would like to start recording probably August, and this is just like, I mean, we're making this up as we go, but
well, yeah, but like we haven't even decided. Like, we don't know if we're gonna.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about it. But
Yeah,
I'm cool.
we haven't
Like,
even really
I'm
talked
gonna
about
go
it.
ahead
Is
and
it gonna be
I'll
an
say even
EP?
on
Is it
this.
gonna be a full length?
I'm cool with August.
yeah. As far as
I wanna
recording
start
goes,
recording.
I've recorded all of our material and mastered all the tracks and that sort of thing, and it's been a big learning experience for me. But also, I can't wait to do the next one.
Do you feel any pressure as you recording their?
Absolutely, a lot of pressure.
Too much.
Yeah, definitely too much, because when it comes down to it, like doing your own music, you have this sort of conception of what you expect it to be, and then when you're putting it down, it's always a little bit different than that, and you get all these different flavors that you may not have expected, and so you're working with it in this like new way, and just bringing it up to people, it's almost just like something that almost like a joke that's been built up really hard. Like it's just a lot at once. So like on our last record that we released on vinyl, that was a huge process, because mastering on vinyl is a little bit different than mastering for digital. So we mastered the whole thing with the goal of releasing it on vinyl, and there was probably 200 hours of back work besides the time we spent recording it. And you know, you don't get that back as far as
Life.
like life or like monetary compensation. Like in terms of the way that goes, it just you do it because you love it, you know, more than anything else. Like, I mean, there's a thin margin in art between success and failure, as far as if you count the hours, you're not doing it right, is all I'm saying. And so just taking your time and spending as much time as possible, like making it the way you want it to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why that's just something that we in the band like strive to do, is like, I think our new song that we released recently, or that we've started playing live, they were like, I'm ready to play it, and I'm like, no, it's not there yet, you know.
But it's time.
Holding ourselves to a standard to say that now it's Indighost ready. Now we can put it out there and put our name on it.
Yeah,
that's
that
just
is
something
important.
that we do.
Yeah, quality control is
Quality control.
You want to be the best, right? Perfect.
trying to.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you so much.
Thank you.